Hi, Jim. So I thought I would just put something together for you so that you can see how, especially for your chiropractor's recommendations, how you can progress into some of these moves. Some of them are pretty advanced that he's given you. I find that kind of interesting. And so I'll give you some options of progression. So the first one in your package was cat cow, and I believe you had this one perfectly well when you demonstrated at our house. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, both are hip distance apart, shoulder distance apart. You have to draw the navel into the spine in this tabletop position, and then dropping the belly, sending the tailbone up, dropping the chest, looking up. So this is camel. And then rounding through the spine, tucking the tailbone under, the chin comes to the chest, pressing the floor away, separating through the shoulder blades, and then inhaling into camel and exhaling into cat. That's the yoga in me, breath to movement. Bird dog, so in the same position, so you're still in this tabletop position with the belly drawn in, so the back is nice and flat and the belly is strong. So options here for bird dog: extending one arm long, keeping the body square to the floor, so the shoulders stay square, the hips stay square, arm is out parallel to the ear, and then down, and then do the other arm. So making sure that when you extend the arm, you don't drop the belly. Keep that navel drawn into the spine. And once you feel nice and strong, like there's no arching through the back when your arms are extended, progress to the legs. So extending one leg long, keep the navel drawn in, hips stay square, the weight is still in both hands, and then release. And then the other leg. So making sure that there's no arching, dropping of the belly, and that there's also no opening through the hip. So you're not rolling open. So you want to keep the body square. And then once you feel comfortable with that, so again, it doesn't matter how high you go with the leg. The height's not important. Once you feel good with that, you extend one arm and then the opposite leg. Again, keeping both shoulders square to the floor and the hips square. And then other side. So again, always making sure the belly is tight. Bear crawl. Now I'm not sure if you're doing this one because of that, the flexion through the toes where you curl the toes under. I think I recommended shoes, but if you do want to do it, you come into your tabletop, but you curl the toes under, lift the knees up 1 to 2 inches off the floor, and then you slowly and with control walk forward 3 or 4 steps, and then 3 or 4 steps back. So the key is not to lift your bum up high, it's to keep the knees close to the floor. Now, if you don't want to walk, you can just come into a hover. So you can be up on, like I'm on my toes here. So again, with the navel drawn in, I don't have them curled under. So you might be able to do this a little bit easier than the crawl with your toes. And then just keep the knees about 1 to 2 inches off the floor, navel drawn in, and hold it. I'd recommend for 30 seconds. Bridge. You did bridge at our house and it looked really good. The feet are hip distance apart and the feet can be parallel or slightly turned out. Arms are by your side. You draw the navel in towards the spine, pressing the lower back in towards the floor. Curl the tailbone under, so tuck the tailbone in. So you want to have that bit of a pelvic tilt, and then you press through the heels and lift up. So you're creating this, it's like a plank, but on your back. So the knees hips, and shoulders are all in alignment. And you really have to squeeze through the bum. You'll feel this in the bum. You'll feel this in the hamstrings. So keep the knees stacked over the ankles. So not forward and not too far back. Try to get them as stacked as possible. And then you lower down. And then just slowly lower down. Release. Draw the navel to the spine again, flattening out. Curl the tailbone under and lift. And then I know he had a bunch of sets for you, so you'll have to follow that. So there's your bridge, forearm plank. So with all of these planks, your options are to start on the knees. So coming into this plank position. So in plank, on the knees, you want the shoulders, hips, and knees all in one line. So the bum's not lifted and the hips aren't sagged down. You want a nice strong line. So options are to rise up on the toes. The closer the feet are together in your plank, the harder it will be. The wider your feet are, the easier it will be. Now in your plank here, you want to press through the heels. So you're activating the glutes, the legs become involved. All right, so that's the forearm plank. Options are to go on the knees, as I said earlier, or come up onto your hands. So you can do a plank like this, on your knees, on your hands. This is going to be easier than on your forearms. And then if you'd like to progress, you can come up onto your toes. And again, keeping the nice long line now from the shoulders, hips, and ankles. And then if you'd like, you can come into your forearm. So that's the progression from the knees, from the hands to the forearms and the toes. Okay, the push-up commando. All right, so that's intense. So you're coming into your push-up. What I would recommend is, I'm not so sure. Okay, so you come into your plank, lower down halfway, bring the knee to the elbow, press back up. Lower down, knee to elbow, press back up. That's actually really, really tough. That's quite an advanced move. Like I wouldn't teach that to anybody. So what I would recommend is you either do it on the knees, so you're coming into your half push-up, lowering half down, and elbow to knee. Or I would, if you want to do the plank, I would just do a plank hold and bring the knee towards the elbow. So those would be a couple of options from what he's offered to you. The next one is a high to low plank. Again, this is super hard. These are really, some of these are really advanced, by the way. So like, and this one's an advanced one. So you come into your high plank, feet nice and wide to give you some good stability. Strong through the core, the navel is drawn in, pressing through the heels, lower down onto one elbow and then the other, and then press up to your hands. Now with this one, what I see a lot of when I have taught it, but I don't teach it anymore, is people are doing this. So there's a lot of weight shifting. See how my hips are shifting? So because you don't have the upper body strength, because this is a really hard move. So what I would recommend, coming to the knees and lower and lift, and try to keep the entire body still. So again, it's not a shifting, so you're not rolling the shoulder over, putting all the weight into one arm as you release, you know, so that it's not shifting in the weight. You're nice and strong through the core. That one is really tough. He's got a lot of really tough ones. The next one, again, I don't know what the, I bet your chiropractor's like 30. That's all I've got to say. So your reverse bridge. So the fingers are pointed in towards the your bum, so as if you're pointing them towards the pockets of your pants. Roll the shoulders back and down, press through the chest, and then press into the heels and lift your body up, coming into this bridge. And then you have to keep the hips lifted, and then you reach over to the opposite side with the arm to get that thoracic rotation, but you need to keep the hips lifted. Now you want the knees to be stacked over the ankles. When you do this, personally, I don't even recommend it. I don't even know what else to do. I don't know how to even make this an easier move because it's so hard. So sorry, I have no help with that one. I would just skip it. Dead bug. So dead bug is the same as bird dog, but with dead bug, you're lying on your back. And in my opinion, I think people should start with dead bug before doing bird dog, because you're not, you have gravity on your side. So you're lying on your back, you bend your knees, stack the knees over the hips, extend the arms out long. Now, as soon as you lift the legs up, the back is going to want to arch, so you have to engage the abdominals to keep the back flat so that it's not arching. And just like in bird dog, you can extend, you can start with the arms. So extend one arm and then the other, making sure that the lower back doesn't lift. The lower you lower the arm towards the floor, the harder it is. Once you feel confident with that and comfortable that your core is working and the back's not lifting, you can do the legs. Again, the lower you lower your legs, the harder it will be. So making sure that as you lower the legs, you don't arch through the back. You want to keep the back pressed down towards the floor. And so once you've mastered that, you can add the arm with the leg. And so as long as you feel there's no arching through the back, extending the arm and the leg. Now the lower, again, you lower the your lever, the harder it is. So if you just straighten it a bit, that's going to be easier than lowering it towards the floor so that it just hovers for the arm and for the leg. So there you go. You got lots of options and lots of progressions, and good luck. I wish you well, and we'll see you guys in about 10 days. We can go over it then, and until then, have fun.